All right, hi everybody, how are you? I'm Amber Gerard with the Yale Office of Sustainability, and I'm really excited to be here today and to talk to you a little bit about a recent update that we made to our website about a year ago, sustainability.yale.edu. And I wanted to talk just a little bit about the process that I went through to go through our update. So just out of curiosity, who in the room, are you content managers usually of your content or more on the technical side? I'm definitely not on the technical side, so I won't be speaking about that, so I hope I'm not boring anybody. But from a perspective of managing content, that's what I'm kind of hoping to share with you today. And if any of you read the descriptions for this session, these were the questions that I posed. Because this kind of summed up where I was at when we started our process of updating our website. And just from a show of hands, anybody, can you relate to any of these mostly? If you don't raise your hand, can I come work with you maybe? I've been with the Office of Sustainability for about 8 years and have gone through 2 website updates during that time. So just to give you a little sense of who we are and what we do, in case you don't know, we're a relatively small administrative office, so we are in operations technically under facilities, but we really work across the entire university with different stakeholders to help inform people about what they can do to make their work more sustainable, either on a personal level or within their department, or thinking about the reach of a particular organization within Yale and how they can play a role. So for example, we're in the School of Forestry right now. We work really closely with forestry, both as operational leaders for looking at how they can model great practices in their buildings and what they're doing in this space, but also in terms of thought leadership on the academic side. And so we work with academic units, we work with operational units, hospitality, procurement, buildings, to try to inform them of best practices. We also keep track of a lot of metrics on sustainability, and we publish those on a regular basis, and we lead the university with sustainability planning. That said, we're a team of 7 full-time employees to reach across the entire organization, and I would say maybe 1/10 of my job is to manage our website. I kind of direct all of our communications, but I have a team of fellows that helps me with that. But working with our website is really just a small amount of what I'm allowed to spend my time doing. So I come from that perspective. I'm not an expert in this, but this is just part of what I do. And just that gives you kind of a sense for where we're at. So this is the old sustainability website. We had this from about 2013 to 2016. Prior to that, we had a site that had been developed for us by an external vendor, which was really great. In 2013, we had a recently announced sustainability plan, and we worked with the Office of Public Affairs and Communications to basically take our site, which was externally hosted, move it onto a Drupal platform here at Yale, and OPAC actually did a custom build of our site for us at that point in time so that it would look a little bit like the site we had previously, have some of the same feel to it, and have basically a custom design structure and organization. Over time, so between 2013 and 2016, we worked with the site and used it, but as I got into my job of managing it, I noticed some key challenges. So just to run through those for you, one of the first things I will say is we had way too much content. So as we started our update, we worked with a fabulous team with the user experience and design strategy team. They helped me go through a process of doing a content audit, where we looked at all of the content on our website and we said, is this page something we want to keep? Is this something we maybe want to refine or update? Or is this something we should just get rid of? I went back and looked at that spreadsheet the other day, and there were over 450 unique URLs that were affiliated with that site that I just showed you. So just to give you a sense for like the amount of content we had, not all of it was necessarily web pages, because a lot of our content is in reports and different documents, but there was a lot there, and I definitely was not staying on top of managing it. Another big challenge was that because there was so much, there were too many layers. And so a lot of the information that I wanted to have front and center for our audience was really definitely buried. So just to show you an example, information about one of our main student employment programs that we run, this is our main outlet to reach undergraduate students, was buried like 4 or 5 layers deep. And I don't think you would be able to find this if you weren't me and knew exactly where it was. So we had a lot of really great information that just wasn't being viewed and that wasn't getting out there. And I should back up and say, the people that we think use our site and that we intend our content for, it's a lot of internal campus audiences. So students are maybe looking for our information to write a class project on what we're doing around paper or waste. Or maybe they just want to get involved in doing programming on campus. A lot of staff want to know how can they improve their department or operations. So we have a lot of internal audiences looking for our content. And then we also are seen by our peers as a leader in sustainability. So we have a lot of external audiences looking to our content as well. So when stuff is super buried, it's kind of problematic. We also had a really customized site, which over time became really hard to maintain. When we first developed it with OPAC back in 2013, I thought it was great. We had lots of fun things like these icons that represented all the different topics we focused on with our monthly campaigns. We also would use these to represent content in the posters and fact sheets part of our site or with our videos. We'd use them as kind of organizing themes. We had a lot of slideshows that were custom designed to kind of talk about what we were doing on campus. And while it looked really pretty, it became buggy over time. And like I mentioned, I'm not an expert on the back end of the website. So we were having to, talk to the people who had built this for us originally. There was a lot of staff turnover. Things just didn't get resolved. By the time we were ready to update the site, there were pages that were basically completely broken and unable to use. So where initially I really liked the customization, in terms of maintenance, over time it became a nightmare. So that was one of our challenges. In addition, accessibility became a problem as well. So when the university rolled out its digital accessibility policy, this was something we wanted to work on. And I mentioned earlier, a lot of our work is around collecting metrics on how the university is doing on sustainability, and we put all of that into reports. A lot of those over the years we've printed, and so we'll share, at tabling events or different things. But then our way of filing them digitally was basically taking the PDFs and just storing them on our website. A lot of these are not accessible, and this was the only place where you could go to find out what Yale was doing with its greenhouse gas emissions back in 2013 or whatever. So we faced a challenge that we needed to, get a handle on how we wanted to deal with this. We also had a lot of, we've got great student designers that work on our team. They come up with great graphics. We'd inserted a lot of those into our website, but they weren't necessarily accessible. So we had some problems that we needed to work out. And then finally, probably the biggest challenge that I felt we were encountering was just this too many cooks in the kitchen. Because we were a small team, everybody felt like they should have a say in how our site was structured, how it should be managed. When I inherited our site, I think there were like 30 different students that were writing and posting content to our site with no kind of like organizational structure or process to guide that. So to say there was an inconsistent voice and layout, I feel like is pretty tame. It was extremely challenging, and we've been working over the years to try to improve that. But from the information architecture to the actual content itself, I personally felt like we really needed to reel things in and work on consistency. So all of these challenges, when we got ready to update our site, left me feeling a little anxious, to say the least. I was like, okay, what do we need to do now? We need to breathe a little bit. So we pressed reset basically in 2016 and looked to the team at ITS to come help us. And the two things that really we started with were just revisiting our goals, really looking hard at what our website content was, what was in there. But even to back up further, kind of to going to Nate's comments this morning, we felt like we really needed to get to know our audience and think really critically about that and prioritize who our audiences were and what information we wanted them to know and what was most important for the behaviors that we wanted them to follow. Because a lot of the work that we do is around behavior change, right? We're trying to encourage the campus to be more sustainable. So I can put tons of information about the paper industry and how we should buy paper and all of the things that go into decision making around that. But really, at the end of the day, people want to know steps 1, 2, and 3 that they can do to make better choices. So we really needed to kind of, like I said, press reset on our whole approach. And then in addition to revisiting our goals and our priorities, I felt like we needed to reevaluate our maintenance protocol and sort of who was in charge of things, how decisions were made, and who was accountable at the end of the day. And I will say, not being the most senior member of my team, that was challenging because while I'm in charge of the communications, I don't necessarily, it's hard to kind of stretch my authority around that. So that's been a little bit of a learning process and a negotiation process, but something that working with the user experience team and having their insights to inform the process as an external third party, I found that to be extremely, extremely helpful. And I still go back to the comments that they shared on a pretty regular basis when I have to say no to certain decisions. So I thought I'd just talk to you a little bit about the remake of our plan and then give you a little tour of our site to show you around it. In 2016, which was about the time we wanted to update our site, the university came out with a new sustainability plan. This was a couple years in the making, but we were really excited about it. It was a 9-year plan, which meant I wanted to put content up on our website that would hopefully last for at least 9 years, right, instead of a couple of years. But the plan was pretty big. It had, it has a centralized vision for a more sustainable campus, 9 separate ambition areas that we have broken up our work into, and then within that, a number of objectives and different goals that we wanted to get out there. And so as we launched the plan, we wanted to think about how we could use our website to better represent it. Our last website that I just showed you a quick glimpse of the homepage, it had a section that basically had all of our plans and our progress reports, again, all in PDF format, not really spelled out in HTML anywhere. So it wasn't searchable. It was really hard to find content. So as we established what our goals were with this new plan, I felt that I really wanted it to be kind of threefold. Wanted it to be, what's Yale doing on campus? So people look to us for leadership, but also, people are really interested in just how do we find sustainability and what are we doing? So that was really important to me. I also wanted to be able to have people find out what our progress was. I didn't want them to have to dig through a huge PDF to search for what we were doing over a particular amount of time. I wanted it to be quick and easily accessible. And then finally, I wanted people to be able to easily find ways that they could get involved and what they could do to help and ways that they could take action. This process of narrowing it down to a few goals, again, was not a simple process. A lot of people on our team had competing priorities, and we had to really have some, back and forth as to what's most important with this site and what do we want to do with it. So I'm just going to take you, I think, out to our site right now and take you on a quick little tour and show you how we tried to do those things. So this is the new Yale Sustainability site. It is housed on the Yale Sites platform, which I'm really excited about. Like I said, one of my goals in terms of maintenance was to not have to rely on the customization. So even though my team loved the customized look, I think we found a happy medium with a Yale Sites template that had some customization, but that also will reap the benefits of the updates when they get rolled out that don't require me to do anything on the back end. Fancy smashy. So when you come to our homepage, basically if you scroll down through it, we wanted our news and events to be pretty high level and central. But then as you're coming down through the homepage, you'll notice that the plan is here. Here are the 9 different ambition areas that we wanted to talk through. And if you click into one of these, basically you have a page that gives you a little bit of context about what we mean by a topic like climate action, and then a quick overview of what Yale is actually doing in these areas, and then a link out to some ways you can contribute. And then as you scroll down, basically this is where you learn a little bit about our goals and the objectives that we have set. So every year we go through a process at the end of the fiscal year where we check in on all of our goals, we produce updates. So this really only gets maintained like once a year, or gets refreshed once a year, I should say. But at least it's a way for us to not have to, rely solely on a PDF that people have to hunt through in order to find out a little bit more about what we're doing. So this was a customized layout for us, and we are able to, make adjustments to the status of a particular goal. Every year we can update the progress on how we're doing. We worked with the Office of the University Printer to develop these graphics for us. They had always done our print material in the past, and so we wanted to maintain sort of a similar aesthetic to what we had done in the past. And so every year they update a couple of those for us, or else we use some just images so that we can report out on our progress. And then you can also get to this page if you click on sort of our vision and ambition. We, of course, refer to our plan here and tell you a little bit about kind of what sustainability means on campus and who's working on it, where the leadership support is, and then we really rely on the campus community to embrace sustainability and work on it. And so using sort of the same aesthetic approach, we listed all of our sustainability action plans that our various departments have here so people can go in and read more about those. I mentioned that I wanted to make it really easy for people to know what to do. Before, a lot of that information was again buried a few layers deep. So what we did for the kind of easy what you can do is we created a take action section of our site. So if you go in here, it's structured slightly differently. We didn't know if those 9 ambitions were necessarily topics that people could really relate to. So we customized the content based on activities that we thought people might be looking for information about. So you can either find more information about the programs that we offer and ways to get involved, or if you want to know how, maybe you just moved to the area, you want to know about what your options are to commute, you can go right in here and find some resources there for you. This was an area where we actually used to link out directly to an external page. And we decided, no, let's summarize the highlights from that external page on our site so that we have some consistency. And then if people want to learn more, they can go out from there. We also wanted to link recent news stories that may be connected to a particular topic. So when we upload a news story to our site, we tag it so that it then appears on the sidebar in the specific action that it's related to. So if we're highlighting something the Divinity School is doing, for example, that'll show up there. And then finally, a lot of our content is in the form of resources, and resources may take different shapes, but at the bottom of each Take Action page, we wanted to have a resources section here where people could access these. These are videos, these are external links, these might be posters. Our previous site actually had a whole section devoted to these various resources, but you had to search for it either by posters, or by campaigns, or by different modes of getting information as opposed to actually getting in and viewing a topic. And so it's really great to have these now topic specific. And if you want to learn more about different resources, you can go out to basically a database where everything is stored, which is also accessible from the homepage just at this top nav button. But this is fabulous because it allowed us to store everything on Box, so we don't have a ton of files that are just eating up space, and everything can be managed more easily through Box. And then if you want to search for a particular type of content, it's all in here, or you can search by topic. So if you want to know what resources are available around disposal, that'll take you here and you can see, oh, okay, there's some videos on this topic, or there's some posters, and you can go through them that way. And what's great is you can, With them being on box, you can get a little preview here of the document that you're thinking about downloading before you actually download it. So you can take a preview of it here, and then if it looks like something you actually want to have, then you can download it from Box directly. So I think this has been a really helpful way of getting our resources out there in a managed form. On our previous site, we actually did have thumbnails for all of the different resources, which we really liked, especially for our posters, because they're pretty creative and they're nice to look at. That was just not going to really be manageable with the setup of this site. So, I feel like we had a happy compromise in each of the take action sections where basically if you scroll down to those resources, you have a little description of what they are and not actually a thumbnail, but it also makes the site look cleaner. It's easier to update, and we don't have to worry about low or high res images and kind of a lack of aesthetic consistency. That's the word I'm looking for. So I just wanted to pull up one more resource that was kind of fun and that was custom made for us. Under Participate, we have some various programs that we offer. Oh, actually, two things I want to mention. You can sign up for our monthly campaign. So every month during the academic year, we send out a campaign to an email listserv. So you can sign up for that there, and it's also on our homepage. So every month we update this, and this is actually a newsletter that we send out through MailChimp, but we try to feature, again, kind of what's going on campus, and then ways that people can get involved. And then we typically will also feature our various resources at the bottom of that. So that's a nice way to sort of expand our reach a little bit. And every month we're able to highlight that and change that content on the homepage. But I don't have to worry too much about keeping the homepage refreshed, which was a big struggle before. Before we had a sliding news bar, and so old content would become visible very, very quickly. The way that we structured this site so that we'd have a little bit of fresh content is we have 4 or 5 slider images here. So every time you refresh our homepage, well, usually when you refresh our homepage, you'll get a different photo to kind of make the experience fresh, but also much easier to maintain. So I anticipate being able to leave these photos for quite a while at a time and not feel that pressure from a maintenance perspective of having to make sure we have a fresh story there all the time. Okay, last thing I'm going to show you. We have a great sustainability tour. We had a kind of complex tour up here before that was sort of linked to a map feature, so you could try to take a walking tour around campus. We also had a PDF version of it that was, for a time, housed at the visitor center, so someone could take a walking tour of sustainability. We started to try to synthesize all of that down, and so some of our content that's repeated in other areas can also be found through a tour. So if you have a particular area of campus, like West Campus, that you want to explore for sustainability features, or a particular topic, if you want to, say, take a look through our green spaces on campus, you can click into these tours and then basically just go down, and the content sort of try to keep it short and sweet with sort of an address if you would like to visit and a photograph, and then also a brief description of how this kind of connects to sustainability, a fun fact, and then again, a way to get involved. And so the idea was that we could link this tour as a resource so that people could be able to kind of peruse different facets of sustainability. And I've actually been really surprised at the emails that I get from random people being like, hey, I found this nice feature on your tour. Can we feature this in a magazine, or something like that? So, just to quickly wrap up here, as I think back and think, have I achieved the goals that we set out when we started this update process? I feel like in terms of content management, yes, we have. We cut a lot of content, and I didn't look at the number of pages that we have now for comparison. I should have done that, but I feel like we slashed a lot and we consolidated a lot, which felt really good. If you're into, tidying up right now or decluttering, this was an awesome process. And I feel like it's even now, I'm finding things that I feel like I can consolidate and tighten up even more. From a management perspective, it has been a lot easier to manage because I feel like our process is pretty clear now. I will make updates, and we have one admin in our office who has the ability to make updates, and basically everything now has to be funneled through us. I ask a lot of people to, if they want something featured on our website, to develop the content with me. But it's definitely, by not letting just anyone load content onto our website, it's definitely helped with some of that quality control, I think. The one challenge, I would say, is the overall visibility of our site. So we do a lot of outreach and we try to drive a lot of traffic here, but I would say because we're such a small team and we're so limited, I don't know that when I get on my Google Analytics reports every week, our readership is not as high as I would like it to be. We get the majority of our traffic when we run a news story in Yale News, and that seems to drive a lot of hits to our page. But other than that, it's not as high as I'd like it to be. I am pleased that a lot of our traffic seems to be going to the take action section of our site, so it does seem like people are finding the resources that they want. And they also seem to be pretty interested in the vision and mission of our that section of our site. But I would love to hear from folks in the room who have good strategies for driving traffic to your sites.